was waiting for Phoenix. When she returned, Odd was sitting in a chair outside her room, legs crossed, hands neatly folded over his knee as if they were his gloves. Odd sat very still, his eyes were large and round for no reason, just because. Then Phoenix spoke a word.
Dear.
And then the world seemed to stop moving. Odd's mouth opened and closed but no sound came out. He blinked at the floor and shifted his feet as if he was trying to get comfortable. Then Odd spoke. Hey. Then Odd looked outside and saw Search break dancing on the dirt streets. Odd watched, fascinated, as Phoenix moved through the crowd like water through sandstone, her hair flying back, eyes glittering pink from the street lights overhead. Her dress flowed around her like a river of silk. Odd looked over at Phoenix and spoken. How you look nice. Then Phoenix stared and stood there, frozen, looking down at him. Odd had never seen someone so beautiful. But Odd wasn't thinking about beauty. Odd was wondering what Phoenix would smell like. Then Phoenix spoken.
Thanks, Buttface.
Odd nodded as if that was something 100% normal to say. Then Odd spoke. Want to walk outdoors? Then Phoenix nodded her brain, then walked outside with Odd, and Odd walked alongside Phoenix until Odd said, Ew, it's Brick. Then Brick said, Oh. Hi Odd. Then Brick walked away without saying goodbye or anything. Odd felt a little hurt. Then Phoenix said,
Why did he want to talk to me?
Odd spoke. Weird guy. Then Phoenix spoke.
You know what? I'll ask him tomorrow.
Odd said, Okay. Then Phoenix spoke.
What'd you think about my hair?
Then Odd spoke. It was weird. Like weird. Odd thought about his words for a moment. Then Phoenix spoke.
What'd you think about my dress?
Odd spoke. You have a dress? Then Phoenix spoke.
Yes.
Then Odd spoken. Want to walk still? Then Phoenix answered.
Sure.
Odd spoke. Can we do it by the river? Phoenix said.
Okay.
Then Odd said. I want to swim because I like water. Then Phoenix said.
That's nice, Oil Butt.
Then Odd walked into water. Then Odd spoke. It's cold. Like my heart. Then Phoenix spoken.
Okay.
Then Odd spoken. Hey Egg. Then Egg walked out of the bushes next to Phoenix. Then Egg spoken.
I was hunting.
Then Odd spoken. What you hunting? Then Egg said.
Flesh and blood from my customers. I mean for my customers.
Then Odd spoken. You, what is wrong with you? Then Egg laughed.
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all.
Then Odd spoke. Haha, okay. Then Odd looked away and spoken. How long has Brick been there? Then Phoenix spoke.
I don't know. Why?
Then Odd spoke. I think he might be stalking me again. Then Phoenix spoke.
What makes you think that?
Then Odd spoke. He's staring at me weirdly again. Then Phoenix spoke.
Oh, you got stalked? Well, that's normal.
Then Odd spoke. You're right, Phoenix. Then Phoenix smiled and spoken.
Want to go insult him?
Then Odd jumped up happily and said, Yes. Then they slid over to Brick, who was leaning against a tree. Odd said, You look like a tree. Like the one I'm standing on. Then Brick spoke. I'm not sure I should be offended by your comment. Then Odd frowned and spoke. Yes. Yes you are. Then Brick said. I'm sure. Then Phoenix spoke.
Oh hey, I'm here.
Then Brick said. You my adopted child. Then Phoenix said.
Aw, thanks Dad.
Then Phoenix walked away and drowned in the river. Then Odd said. Aw, Phoenix just died. Then Brick laughed and said. Oh yeah, she does that sometimes. It doesn't matter though. Then Odd nodded. Oh okay. Then Brick said. What are you doing here anyway? Odd spoke. I'm insulting you. Then Odd said. I don't like you. Then Brick spoke. Yeah I know. Then Odd spoke. Ha. Then Brick said. You know what, I'm going to insult you. You're annoying, loud, messy, disrespectful and rude. Then Odd responded. I'm not all those things. Then Brick spoke. Then what are you? Then Odd made sound. Oh I don't know. Then Odd spoke. Well, I'm going to die. Then Odd fell backwards into the river. Then Brick said. Haha, both my children are dead. Then Odd popped out of the water. I'm not dead yet. Then Brick said. You looks dead to me. Then Phoenix spoke.
So, weirdo. I'm not actually dead.
Then Odd said. Wait, why aren't you dead? And Phoenix smiled and spoke.
I'm not actually dead.
Then Odd spoke. Are you sure? Then Phoenix spoke.
Yes, now shoo! Go away, make fun of some other person. Do something else, I don't care.
Then Odd left, leaving Phoenix and Brick alone on the river bank. Odd sighed and spoke. Oh well, I guess that means I have to find you more clothes. Then Odd walked back to the town and saw Search dabbing and spinning. Then Odd thought, oh no, it's Search again. Then Search said, go away Odd. Then Odd said, I dislike you. Then Odd walked away, then thought, I'm hungry, I will call my mom for food. Then Odd grabbed his phone and called her number, but Odd said, "Oh wait, I don't have one. I will call my dad then, haha." Then Odd called his dad, then Brick answered, "What?" Then Odd said, "Wait, you're my dad?" Then Brick said, "Yes, you're really stupid, Odd." Then Brick hung up, then Odd said, "Wow, I wish I knew that." Then Odd drop kicked his phone for no reason, he was just bored. Then Odd slid over to Egg's store, then Egg said,
I'm not buying you.
Odd frowned, but, then Egg said,
No.
Odd sat down and cried, "Why is this happening to me?" Odd was sad and lonely. Then Odd looked over at a cage that Egg was selling. It had something moving in it. Then Odd walked over to it and there was a small child inside. Then Odd said, "Haha, you look sad. I hope you live a lonely life, small being." Then the child started crying. Then Egg laughed and said,
Ha, stupid child.
Then Odd said, "Haha, it's drowning in its own face water." Then Egg said,
That's awesome. I hope it does.
Then Odd said, "Can I buy it?" And the small child looked scared and Egg said,
Why yes. Yes you can.
Then Odd picked the cage up with the child in it and bought it for money. Then Odd walked home feeling better than ever and dropped the child onto the couch and said, "Let us eat then sleep." Then Odd made omelets. Then Odd said, "Eat this small thing." Then the small child ate the food. Odd said, "Is good." Then Phoenix walked in and said,
Brick is a butt.
Then Phoenix looked at the child and yelled.
Odd! Did you give birth?
Then Odd said, "No, I bought it for 2 potatoes." Then Phoenix said.
For 2 potatoes?
Then Odd spoke, "It's not my fault. It has tiny lungs and it's drowning." Then Phoenix spoke again.
How could you buy a fish that drowns?
Then Odd spoke, "Fish." Then Phoenix said.
What?
Then Odd said, "Nah, it's a child." Then Phoenix tripped on nothing as a reaction. Then Phoenix said.
Well, I don't like it.
Then Odd said, "Yeah, it's kinda boring." Then Search broke in the door screaming,
Phoenix, come back to me. I love you.
Then Phoenix said.
Shut up, I'm trying to get rid of a fish.
Then Search walked away sad. Then Odd said, "Let's throw it away." Then Phoenix said.
Yes, please do.
Then Odd tossed it in the trash. Then Odd said, "Let's get some sleep." Then Phoenix said.
Yes! I'm tired of hearing Brick talk for an hour about his stupid plan to take control of his dental problems.
Then Phoenix and Odd died and exploded the entire town. The end.